Hello everyone. It's time for Good Week Israel, where we'll give you ILTV's positive highlights of the week. Get ready to smile because coming up, who knew dancing salsa could be the way to meet new friends in Tel Aviv? Newly operational public transportation on Saturdays is a huge success. And a quick rundown on all the famed diet trends of this year. So, yada, let's get started. An amazing photo festival showcasing the gorgeous Arava Desert is finally announcing the winning shots, and ILTV's Shanna Fold has the details.
The Arava Desert extends from the Dead Sea in central Israel all the way down to Eilat, in Israel's southernmost tip. And that is exactly where the Planet Arava Festival was held. The festival was held in early November and touted 150 photographers from around the world and ended with a whopping 500 photos in the final stage of the competition. The festival showed only photos taken within the Arava and also highlighted some environmental protection issues from the region. Compelling photos showed foxes hunting by night, as well as rabbits, birds, and lizards in their natural habitats. For the story and sequence category, Aviv Etzion won with one of 5 photos he took of 2 black-winged stilt birds who were in the courting process. Other photos showed the 2014 Evrona oil spill, where photographers and park rangers had gotten shots of the desert after the incident. The nature reserve was overtaken by between 3 and 5 million liters of crude oil that leaked out from a pipeline. It's considered the worst environmental disaster in Israel's history. Photographers said the black oil was an eyesore and emitted a horrible smell. Omri Yosef Omesi of Eilat took the first place prize with a series of photos he took of the oil spill in 2014 and submitted this year. Congratulations to all the winners in all the various photo categories.
We always say we need to change our diet and, well, be healthier, but what are our options? I had some interesting ideas for you guys that you may have not considered. So with the new year approaching, you've decided to make your New Year's resolution to clean up your diet. Good for you. But now you have to pick from the endless amount of diet trends. Do any of them even work? Are any of them even healthy? I teamed up with Owen Malul to give you the rundown on this year's latest diet trends. Ready?
When people hear the word fasting, they're sometimes afraid about it. But we have to understand, it's true that in our today's society we constantly eat because food is so available. But if you look deeply, fasting is actually very natural. And back in nature, we're not able just to wake up, open the fridge, have to go and look for our food. When you're constantly getting food from the outside, there's a getting energy mechanism from out. The moment you shut this mechanism off and you wait actually 12 hours, the body is starting understanding, okay, I have to provide myself energy, sugar from the inside. After 16 hours, boost of concentrated fat burn that's starting to happen. So the most popular formula we have in intermittent fasting today is 16 hours of not eating, 8 hours of eating. Why 16 hours? We see after 16 hours, there's this boosted fat burn that's happening. Fat burn, cleanse, and a lot of benefits for your health, tremendous also physical results. Ketogenic diet actually has a lot of similarities to intermittent fasting. Ketones are actually the molecule released from burning fats. When there is no nourishment from the outside, and the body is starting to understand, okay, I have to provide myself energy from the inside, the body is basically using the storage, the fat. There is a molecule called ketones that's going to provide you energy, which is basically more available energy because it's already stored in our warehouse. What kind of food you can eat in ketogenic diet is mainly food which are rich in fat. Yes, a lot of avocados, nuts, seeds, fatty meats. People thought it's bad for you. You know, relating fat, you'll become fat. But this relation is not necessarily true. It's been discovered that fat actually raises less insulin and glucose level. And if you eat more food that has fat, you're also going to experience ketosis, which is very similar to intermittent fasting. We said that intermittent fasting increase fat burn up to 20-fold and ketogenic diet up to 4-fold. The food you're supposed to get away from is the starches, the carbs, which are going to spike your insulin and glucose level and provide you available energy. So basically, ketogenic diet is focused about eating more fatty food based and less carbohydrates, what's going to allow you and allow your body to use more energy and and fat burned from the inside. Plant-based food diet. I personally very close to it because I'm a vegan for the last 8 years. I started because I started to learn alternative medicine and understand, the meat industry, the animal industry, and what they put inside. What vegan basically claims is that we're designed as 100% herbivore animals. What veganism basically claims, the health benefits, is you consume the exact food that are designed for your mammal type. Everything that is based on plant, nothing from animal products. Not meat, not dairy, no eggs. Yes, veganism is getting more and more popular. We see it actually. Tel Aviv is considered the most vegan city all over the world. That's why I believe in it.
Whether you're looking to clean up your diet or lose some weight, make sure you know the health benefits and information of the diet that you choose to follow. And most importantly, stay healthy.
If you're a comedian, testing your materials across nations and cultures can help the growth process. But for Louis C.K., a comedian with a rough reputation, getting out of town was not as much of a choice as it is a salvation.
Louis C.K. has returned to the Israeli stage. The internationally renowned American comedian was last in Israel in 2016, but now, 3 years later, he's back after having been on a hiatus, trying to maintain a low profile. C.K. is best known for his TV series Louis, and he has a long career history of writing for programs like The Dana Carvey Show, Saturday Night Live, The Conan O'Brien Show, and David Letterman's Late Show, just to name a few. But in 2017, the star, who is known to have an arsenal of raunchy jokes, was accused of sexual misconduct by a handful of his colleagues, and he has since confessed to the allegations that he made inappropriate actions while in front of other female comedians. So now CK is having an easier time delivering shows abroad, especially after the allegations resulted in the cancellation of his HBO series and a slew of live performances. Also, more recently, CK has returned to smaller shows in the US that went without advertisement. But as far as his Tel Aviv shows are concerned, Israeli reviewers said that the Tel Aviv audiences received CK well, and that the set was well worth the $80 ticket price. Reviewers also say that the content is not for the politically correct, and that at the beginning of the set, Louis actually addresses his behavior, making jokes about not doing something you know you shouldn't do, even if you get permission. But 5 women protested outside of the hall in Tel Aviv anyway, holding signs saying they believe the victims. And in any case, CK returns to Israel Thursday after touring in Europe, and he will deliver 2 final sold-out shows in Holon, a city just south of Tel Aviv.
All right, now it looks like a newly operational public transit system is turning out to be a huge success. ILTV's Nittany Manson reports.
Residents of the secular city of Tel Aviv have long been pressuring the state for public transportation on weekends or during the Jewish Day of Rest. And now it seems their wish has finally been granted in spite of staunch opposition from the ultra-Orthodox, because Tel Aviv has just launched a trial public transportation program on Friday afternoon, offering free bus services to residents of the city and its periphery. And the reception has been explosive. The program, titled We Move on Weekends, runs 6 routes between Tel Aviv and Ramat Gan, Ramat HaSharon, Givatayim, Hulon, and Kiryat Ono. And it boasts 19-person minibuses, which hit upwards of 500 stops across 300 kilometers of roadway, all without entering ultra-Orthodox or Haredi neighborhoods. But the municipality wants riders to be aware that the service will only be free for the first few weeks of the program, and that to eliminate the long wait times that people experienced in the opening weekend, more minibuses will be added to the schedule as soon as possible. But finally, explaining the move, Tel Aviv Mayor Ron Huldai says that the ability to move from place to place throughout the week is a fundamental right, and that Israel should consider launching a similar system nationwide as soon as possible.
Dancing salsa can be a great way to meet people here in Tel Aviv, and many people love to get out on the floor after work. But one woman who has made her way to Israel from Australia is taking the dance more seriously, and she has a new partner. From the salsa capital of the world, Shana Fold has this story.
What's a Jewish woman? I love this place and I plan on creating an empire in Israel. Some people overseas don't even think that we dance salsa here in Israel, that we're allowed to wear the costumes that we're allowed to wear. It's felt quite special to hold the Israeli flag.
Obviamente conocí a Alicia y decidimos bailar juntos, decidimos hacer algo para mostrar lo que ella sabe y lo que yo sé.
This is Christian and this is Alyssa, and they're both salsa champions.
I'm a bit of a firecracker. It's like two beasts coming together.
Alyssa Shriki was born and raised in Australia. The nation is a longtime competitor in the Latino dance community, a 6-time world samba champion, and taking the top spot in Israel's national competition. Alyssa's considered Israel's #1 salsa dancer. Christian David Montenegro has been dancing since the age of 9. Where he's from, it's just as important as doing your homework.
Connection.
Soy de Cali, la capital mundial de la salsa.
After studying at a world-renowned dance academy in Colombia, Montenegro received offers to dance Colombian salsa from Miami, Singapore, Spain, and Norway. He chose the Holy Land.
Me siento muy bien, ¿sabes? Porque soy el, digamos, por decirlo así, el pionero en la salsa caleña aquí en Israel. Con mi estilo, no hay otro bailarín, digamos, que se mantenga en el gremio como tal, como yo.
Aside from loving dance, both of these stars have one common passion, and it's Israel.
I'm Zionist.
Sentí algo especial y cuando volví a Colombia dije, si algún día voy a cambiar de país o voy a vivir en algún lado, yo creo que va a ser en Israel.
Montenegro has been in Israel for about 3 years and Shriki for 5. After dancing solo for a while, the two decided to work together and just took the top spot at Israel's national salsa competition.
אל המקום הראשון הגיעו קריסטיאן מונטנגרו ואליסה שריקי.
Alyssa and Christian get together several times a week for practice, but even with all that time, they still have a little problem.
5, 6, 7.
I thought maybe this part I have had.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. 1, 2, 3. Entiendo inglés, pues siento miedo al hablar y pena.
Things seem to be working well. So well that they even had a moment to teach me.
¿Quieres bailar?
Sí, gracias. 1, 2, 3, Kalima. 5, 6, 7.
What is your favorite part about Latin dance?
Everything. The music, the costumes, the passion.
Me gusta la preparación, la espera, las ansias de que llegue el día, preparar el vestuario. Todos los días respiro baile.
Next week is one of 2 World Latin Dance Cups. One is in the US and one is in Colombia.
The Colombian one is the one we're getting ready for, and it would be really special for us to go because, as you know, Chris is Colombian.
Since the Israeli national competition, Shriki and Montenegro have been fielding requests for workshops and shows all around the globe. But while they figure out their bookings, they have something else they're trying to work on.
I need to start learning a little bit of Spanish, and he needs to start learning some English.
Sí, funciona.
Israelis' United Hatzalah EMTs are often the first on the scene when there's an accident resulting in injury. But these life-saving emergency medics put themselves in harm's way every time they answer the call, and they're all volunteers. So when the time comes, who rescues the rescuer?
Friday, November 15th started normally for volunteer emergency medical tech Tal Kupferstein, but all that shifted rapidly as the day went on. As part of his volunteer services for United Hatzalah, Kupferstein is one of dozens of Israelis who operate ambucycles, motorcycles equipped for on-scene emergency medical care. And as per his job, he was responding to an emergency call in Bat Yam, just south of Tel Aviv, where a woman was reported unconscious. But on that fateful Friday drive, as he made his way to the scene, he was struck by a car, and now he's got months of recuperation ahead. Well, thankfully he's alive. But remember that United Hatzalah workers are volunteers, meaning they have day jobs for financial stability. And Kupferstein's job, which he can no longer do, is running a falafel stand that he just opened. So with his family and business both in danger, Kupferstein's Hatzalah family stepped up to support his wife and 5 children, and they've now organized shifts during peak hours for the next couple of months. Finally, even president and founder of United Hatzalah, Eli Ber, signed on for a couple of shifts, saying that it's heartwarming to see how fast volunteers from all over are coming to help.
It's amazing. It's amazing. He owns a falafel shop in Holon. He left his shop to come help here to make sure Tal's shop is not going to close down and he's not going to lose all the money that he invested. I feel like crying.
And it's not just other Hatzalah workers either. A campaign to buy falafel online and then donate them to soldiers and first responders is now up and running, and thousands of portions at 20 shekels a pop have already been purchased.
Now, for those who may not know, recently we marked the first day of the very happy annual holiday of Sigd.
Every year on the 29th of the Hebrew month of Cheshvan, just 50 days after Yom Kippur, the Jews of the Ethiopian community celebrate Sigd. Derived from the Hebrew word skida, meaning prostration, the holiday commemorates the renewal of the covenant between the Jews, God, and the Torah, and it's traditionally celebrated by praying to return to Zion, or the land of Israel, as the holiday originates in the diaspora. Also, Sigd is related to Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, in the idea that one must be introspective and repentant in order to enter the land of Zion. Therefore, Sigd is also traditionally marked by fasting until sundown. But today, as most of the Beta Israel, or Ethiopian Jewish community, already lives in Israel, it's more of a holiday marked by large gatherings in Jerusalem with the Ethiopian Jewish religious leaders, or Kesim, festive meals, and generally catching up with the family and community at large. Also, this is now the 11th year since 2008 when Israel officially designated Sigd to be a national holiday, meaning it's already getting a lot more of the attention it rightly deserves. Prime Minister Netanyahu even reached out to the community with a video message expressing how important the holiday and the Israeli Ethiopians are to the nation, adding that a lot more work on integration and anti-discrimination lies ahead, but that it can and will be done with a united front.
אנחנו נמשיך להיאבק בגזענות בכל הכוח עד שנמחוק אותה כליל. קיבלנו בממשלה החלטה להסדיר את מעמד הקייסים, אני מאוד גאה בזה. אנחנו נשלב אותם כמנהיגים רוחניים במערך שירותי הדת. אחיי ואחיותיי היקרים, יהיו גאים במורשתכם, המשיכו לתרום למדינת ישראל. חג סיגד שמח לכולכם, חג שמח לכל עם ישראל.
Now, talk about a true 180. Here's a story you really won't want to miss, because it seems that an Iranian athlete is now heading to Israel to compete. ILTV's Nittany Manson reports.
It's been a month now since the International Judo Federation barred Iranian-based athletes from competing over their continued refusal to face off against Israeli opponents, and the IFJ says the ban is indefinite, ending only when the regime in Tehran ends its long-running boycott against the Jewish state. But now, you might remember that certain Iranian athletes are already braving the consequences of opposing their home state's policy. Saeed Moulai, for example, fled Iran for Germany after he was forced to intentionally lose the World Championship match in Tokyo against Israeli judoka Sagi Muki. And now that he's been granted refugee status, he says he's free to concentrate fully on judo as part of an international refugee team. Taking things one step further, though, is 23-year-old Mohamed Rashnon Ezhad, who similarly fled his native Iran over the boycott policy. And he has also recently been granted refugee status in Holland, where he's been living for the past 2 years and competing under the refugee flag. In fact, he was one of only 2 refugee athletes to medal in the Budapest Grand Prix, earning the bronze. And now he's finally setting his sights on his first Israeli mashups, as the Tel Aviv Grand Prix reports that Rashnon Ezhad has officially registered for the January competition. He'll be competing in the under 60 kilogram weight class, and we wish him the best of luck.
A concert in Brazil is now showcasing the music written in concentration camps during the Holocaust.
Earlier this week, an Italian composer brought to life the notes of the dead in a concert held in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Ah, voilà la partition. Ça a été fait au camp.
Francesco Lotoro spent 30 years gathering up over 8,000 musical works that were salvaged from composers who lived during the Holocaust. Toilet paper scrolls, charcoal bag measures, and notes folded up and shoved into pockets, Lotoro was able to piece together a show that represented 1,600 different composers. And the concert commemorated the Jewish community's 75th anniversary of concentration camp liberation. And Lotoro dedicated his life to recovering these scraps from families throughout Europe who still had the music on hand.
My father, when he fled, he folded it up and put it in his pocket.
Lotoro says he's doing a mitzvah, though, or in Hebrew, a good deed, but he also says that he would probably be doing it anyway, even if he were not a Jew. At the age of 39, the composer converted from Catholicism to Judaism, and a few years back, a movie called The Maestro was actually produced showcasing the work and documenting Lotoro's journey to get the notes back and ultimately make them sing.
And now for this week's Torah portion with Sandra Oster-Barris, director of the Christian Friends of Israeli Communities in Heartland.
Today's Torah portion is Toldot, and it tells us of the marriage of Isaac and Rebekah and the birth of their two sons, Jacob and Esau. Now, it's very interesting because in part of this whole story, of course, we get to a very interesting part where Rebekah makes sure that it is Jacob who receives the primary blessings from Isaac, his father, rather than Esau. Isaac, all along, thinks it is Esau who is indeed the firstborn. They're twins, but it is Esau who is the firstborn. And Isaac is sure that it is Esau who should carry on to get the primary blessing to be his heir. Jacob is the younger one, but Rebekah sees otherwise. And in fact, Rebekah has received a prophecy early on when she was pregnant. Then God spoke to her and said, there are two nations in your womb, and the older will serve the younger. So she already has a prophecy that tells her that it is the younger son who will be the heir. But Isaac doesn't know this. Now, one of the questions that has always arisen in this whole story is, why the trick? Why couldn't Rebekah just go to Isaac and say, look, Isaac, I think you have it wrong here. It is Jacob that is supposed to be the firstborn or treated as the firstborn. You got to switch your blessings. Instead, she does this whole trick when Jacob and they fool Isaac, and it's very, very uncomfortable for all of us when we read this. Now, many people say, that means that Jacob and Rebekah had a terrible, that Isaac and Rebekah had a terrible relationship. They didn't talk, they didn't communicate. But that's so not the case, because at the very beginning, we see Isaac and Rebekah praying together for a son. Later on, when they're in Gerar, Avimelech, the king, notices that they're fondling each other and having a good time. They had a good relationship. But there's one verse that sticks out, a verse that tells us Isaac loved Esau and Rebekah loved Jacob. Rebekah knew that if she's going to go to Isaac with his blind love at Esau to try to convince him, he would not listen. They had a wonderful relationship between the two, but she knew that Esau was his blind spot, and therefore she felt she had no choice but to play this game in order to ensure that it was Jacob who received the blessing, because as we know, it's Jacob who is the true heir of Isaac. Sandra Osterberis bringing you a few minutes of the Torah portion.
That's all for today's Good Week Israel. Hope we've helped you start your week with a smile. I'm Emmanuel Kadosh, and see you next week.